Disclaimer lang po bago tayo mag-proceed. This is just a Tecware Forge review. So, yung mga benchmarks natin is just related para dun sa casing. So, may mga components po ako nilagay. May mga video cards, motherboard, AIO. Pero just for you guys to see how it looks kung meron na po siyang mga components. Pero, yung benchmark, hindi po siya kompleto na ipapakita ko po yung mga FPS in terms of gaming and other stuffs. It will just be about the temperature or it is just be the benchmarks needed to be known or kailangan nating malaman before we will buy this Tecware Forge chassis. So ngayon dito pag-uusapan natin kung bakit ko siya tinawag na almost perfect bang for the buck chassis. Our official sponsor for this video is MSI with their MSI B450 Tomahawk Max. So ito po ay nirelease nila para sa mga new motherboard lineup or para sa concern in terms of BIOS. Dahil nga po medyo nahihirapan po tayo dating i-update ang mga B450 from MSI brand into the new BIOS para maging compatible po ang AMD RYZEN 3rd Gen. So eto ngayon at nag-release po sila ng may mas mataas na capacity in terms of BIOS ROM na B450 Max lineup. So let's go and proceed about this chassis. So this is really one of the best chassis na nakita ko sa Tecware. The structure, the design, the style, sobrang ganda. Well, before ako mag-proceed, baka sasabihin nyo nagmamarket po ako. Pero actually to be honest, kahit kayo po, just basing on the looks that you can see on the websites and i-compare nyo po sa mga previews na nilabas sa Tecware, who will not say na eto nga po ay mas maganda in terms pa lang dun sa looks. Well, for me, that is what I see. Kasi yung taste ko, kumbaga neutral kasi ako tumingin eh. I know that there are some of people na parang mas naglilin sa ganitong design, pero meron ding mga iba na ditong design. Pero if you will just be looking neutral on all of those lineups basing on the pictures sa website ng Tecware website, eto po ang isa sa mga pinakamagandang nailabas nilang chassis from the time na nag-manufacture po sila. So ito ngayon na pag-uusapan natin starting with the front panel. As you can see, yung front panel po niya is an airflow design. So same with the Cooler Master H500, it comes with dalawang 200mm fans. So yan po ay stock fans lang po, RGB po siya, ARGB. And it comes also with 120mm fan dito sa likod. So kung binili mo po itong chassis na to, hindi mo na po problemahin ang fans para sa harap at para sa rear side. Of course, ang magiging question na lang dito is yung ilalagay mo dito sa taas. And if you have plan naman na maglagay ng AIO like what I did in here, pwede na pong hindi kayo bumili kasi meron naman pong kasamang fans yung AIO. And nataon po na yung AIO na ginamit natin is sa BYKSKI 240mm na ARGB din siya. Pwedeng maging addressable dun sa board. Pwede mo siyang isync sa board. Same with the fans na stock fans nitong casing. Yun, saktong-sakto. Nailagay na po natin lahat yung components or it looks so cool now na hindi na po ako option pa na bumili ng fans. So that is about aesthetics pa lang. And when you look at the chassis front panel, ang isa pang na-appreciate ko dyan is yung abstract looks. Kumbaga yung mesh front panel po niya is hindi po siya yan flat surface. Meron po siyang uneven angles like abstract po. At the same time, may mga part na mas lubog, may mga part na mas naka-emboss. So, it's just like those meshify of fractal design. Yung width, yung size, yung parang biglang tingin, it is just look like the Cooler Master H500. Pero in terms of dun sa design niya, it is parang yung meshify variant ng fractal design. Which is really good for Tecware na magkaroon ng ganitong moves. Na parang sa iba siguro sasabihin nila parang it's so dope naman yung ginawa nito Tecware dito. Pero what he did is he combined those two famous premium chassis into one chassis na mas mura po yung halaga for lower than 4,000 pesos. Napakasulit po front panel pa lang, panalong-panalo na. Well, let's move on to the top. Doon sa top, makikita nyo po yung mga ports for the front panel ports, USB 3.0, 2.0, yung power button, reset button, at saka yung LED switch. And meron po siyang isang magnetic dust filter that you can view there na pwede kang mag-install ng 240 up to 280mm radiator. Pero pag-uusapan natin yan about radiator mamaya. Let's move on first doon sa ating side panel. Yung side panel po niya is slide in lang po. So, unlike other side panels na magtatanggal ka ng mga 4 na screw dito is parang yung standard design ng chassis na dito po sa likod yung mga screw, yung dalawang screw, then i-slide out mo po yung tempered glass, 4mm thickness. So napakakapal. Compared to other previous models ng Tecware, this is much thicker tempered glass. May mga ibang models kasi silang nilabas lately na parang medyo mas manipis, or other brands na bang for the buck, medyo mas manipis po yung mga tempered glass nila. Pero with this Tecware Forge, napakakapal, and it is maybe to also to avoid yung mga nagiging issue from other brands or from other bang for the buck chassis na bigla na lang nagsha-shatter yung tempered glass dahil nga sobrang nipis or hindi maganda po yung quality. Pero with this smoked design, rest assured naman na this will not easily shatter or mababasag. Let's move on dun sa loob. Psu Shroud. I love the Psu Shroud. Ang ganda nung kanyang cutouts dito. Medyo iniba nila sa nakagawian na design na parang rectangular lang. Meron siyang konting diagonal cuts dun sa bawat corners. So, dyan ma-view mo po yung brand ng power supply mo. And of course, you can also install 2 SSDs at the top of the Psu Shroud as it is said on paper. And then, yung Psu Shroud niya is meron siyang magandang clearance sa harap. So, let's go on to the radiator compatibility. Pwede ka pong maglagay ng push-pull configuration dito sa harap if you want to install a 360mm radiator. Meron siyang enough clearance po dito sa kanyang Psu Shroud. So, of course, as much as you can install up to 360mm radiator dito sa harap, you can also install up to 280mm radiator dito sa top and 120mm naman dito sa likod. Pero sa top po, advice ko lang po sa mga magbibuild dyan, if you are going for a Nighthawk RAM, medyo magkakaroon po kayo ng concern. Kasi as far as I'm concerned, yung Nighthawk po ang isa sa mga pinakamatangkad, or I think that is the tallest RAM height na available sa PH market na RAM, yung Nighthawk po ng T-Force. Magkakaroon ka po ng problema, even the 240mm radiator, hindi mo po yun mai-install pag yun po ang gagamitin mo na RAM. So, that is the reason kung bakit nag-switch ako. Actually, initially, I'm just going for the Nighthawk. Pero since hindi ko po siya ma-fit yung 240mm radiator ko, then I switched to GSKILLS Neo. So high profile RAM pa rin naman ang GSKILLS Trident Neo, pero yung Nighthawk kasi parang above the standard yung kanyang height. So medyo nagkaroon talaga ng concern. So sa mga balak maglagay ng 240mm radiator, which is the recommended position for the radiator sa taas, iwasan nyo po yung Nighthawk RAM. Or kung meron na kayo Nighthawk RAM, then if you want this chassis, better swap it with other variants or models ng RAM. Yun po yung naging concern natin. And then moving on to the expansion slots, meron po siyang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 expansion slots. And then meron siya ditong expansion slot para sa video card if you want to mount the video card in a vertical position. So, pwede ka pong mag-vertical. Hindi mo na kailangan bumili ng bracket. Automatically, meron na pong nakaabang dito. Riser na lang ang kailangan mo. So, Tecware have those risers for around 1,500. Pwede ka rin pong bumili ng mga riser. Actually, included po siya doon sa mga naunang VXR chassis noon. Meron po siyang bundled na riser. Pero lately, they are now selling the riser separately. So pwede kayong bumili sa mga suking tindahan kung saan kayo nakakabili ng Tecware chassis. Meron din silang riser available, or they can order the riser for this chassis. So yun po yung na-observe ko dito. Perfect na sana tong chassis para sa akin. It's already the best bang for the buck chassis that Tecware had released ever since. Well, so far sa mga nakikita at na-discuss naman natin kanina, so far it is now the best chassis that we have seen from Tecware brand. Pero mas naging perfect pa sana kung yung expansion slots is hindi po soldered. So pag nakalimutan mong tanggalin yan at na-install mo na yung motherboard, syempre hassle na naman yung pagtanggal ng motherboard para lang matanggal yung expansion slots. So yun po yung naging concern ko talaga dito sa chassis na to. Sana dapat naka-screw na lang. Para yan, screw mo na lang kung gusto mong maglagay ng video card or magdagdag ng video card if you will be going for an SLI setup soon. At least hindi mo na kailangan tanggalin yung motherboard just to remove those slots cover. Moving on to the other side of this chassis, dito po natin makikita yung mga lagayan ng storage and power supply. So of course, you can see it directly yung HDD cage na meron po siyang isang HDD caddy. So at the top of the cage, ma-install mo po yung isa pang hard drive or SSD kung panay SSD po ang iyong ilalagay. Of course, you can also see the mounting plates for the SSD. Meron po siyang dalawang mounting plate na nakasama dyan. And then isa pang nagustuhan ko with this chassis is you have 4 options on how far you can adjust yung HDD cage, lalong-lalo na kung medyo mahaba po yung power supply natin. So unlike with the Tecware Alpha or the previous models na pwede mo rin namang i-adjust yung cage in a position para mas maganda yung clearance ng mga cables ng power supply. Pero with this, you can have 4 options. Yun nga lang yung pinaka nearest mount sa front panel. Magkakaroon ka na ng konting concern sa installation ng push-pull configuration kung isasagad mo po sa may pinakaharap yung HDD cage. So I think you can just go for the second to the frontmost part mounting for the HDD cage, or at the second also to the nearest part for the power supply. Para at least kahit papaano in terms of installation ng power supply, kahit na medyo nailapit po dito sa may bandang power supply side yung HDD cage, maganda pa rin po yung clearance para sa mga kable. Lalong-lalo na po kung hindi po tayo naka full modular power supply. And then for cable management, meron po siyang roughly 2 cm clearance. And yun po yung isa sa mga concern ko with this chassis. Sana mas maganda kung dito sa may front panel side, malapit sa front panel, medyo naka-emboss siya ng konti or medyo nakalubog siya ng konti para may mas maganda pang clearance for cable management. Pero anyway, yun nga po, dahil nga po adjustable naman po yung HDD cage natin, so we have a big room that is enough for us to store some of the cables or excess cables ng power supply. So medyo hindi na rin magiging concern ang cable management. And that is already a good enough clearance din naman for us to enjoy up to 175mm air cooler height. So ito po yung isa sa mga pinakamagandang strength or selling point ng chassis na to, yung compatibility ng matatangkad na air coolers. Kasi previously, yung mga bang for the buck chassis, or very rare for the bang for the buck chassis to have this kind of good height clearance para sa air cooler. Kadalasan, if you will be going for tall air coolers like Noctua DH15 or other air coolers out there, you should go for the Cooler Master H500 or some chassis from Fractal Design, some chassis from NZXT, or mga premium brands na po yung mga kailangan mong piliin. And then for the power supply intake airflow, meron din po siyang dust filter dito sa ilalim na you can just slide out dahil para siyang drawer po. So drawer type po yung setup niya. Meron siyang frame, unlike with the typical dust filters na magnetic po ang kanilang design. So for the front, wala po siyang dust filter. Yun po yung isa sa mga concern din natin with this chassis. Pero I think you can buy out there naman yung mga dust filters. Merong available sa mga online stores. You can just look for those dust filters na pwede nyo pong i-cut to install it at the front panel. So yun po yung mga nakita ko po na parang sana meron siyang dust filter din nakasama. Pero I just don't know if the chassis na nakuha ko is wala pong dust filter na naisama, or talagang walang kasama lahat po ng mga models ng Tecware Forge. And then lastly, to know if this is the chassis that you should consider, of course, I loaded components RX 5700 and of course RYZEN 5 2600 with a BYKSKI 240mm radiator. With the previous video, I have uploaded the BYKSKI 240mm radiator benchmark And of course, medyo naging questionable po sa ilan kung paano ko po nakuha yung information. But if you want to dig deeper about the informations that I will be disclosing tonight, of course, you may check the link page below for the raw footage ng mga benchmark natin. So, for the succeeding video na gagawin ko po mga kaibigan, I will be uploading here the raw footage sa ating page. At least kung hindi nyo mahanap dun sa mismong video kasi I'm trying to compress my videos for 10 to 15 minutes, you may just check the link below. So, ayun po, nakuha natin yung 64 degrees Celsius. That is fair enough temperature with this chassis, with this 240mm radiator compared with the previous benchmark that we have done with an open test bench. Kumbaga open chassis yung ginamit po natin. So I just consider it as an open test bench kasi nga wala po yung side panel na nakalagay. So I did a benchmark with that chassis, open po siya, and I did a benchmark with this chassis, close po, with just the airflow. Kumbaga umaasa lang po siya dun sa intake ng 200mm fans natin, and we have a very good result for almost 30 minutes stress test 100% with the AIDA64 software. Yun po yung ginamit nating software. Of course, I also did some benchmark with a CPUZ stress test. Medyo mas mabigat or mas mataas po yung temperature na nakuha natin from 57 degrees Celsius going to 64 degrees Celsius with CPUZ. So yan po yung nakuha nating benchmark result with CPUZ stress test. So medyo mas nahatak po yung temperature. And of course, malaking tulong na nagkaroon tayo ng airflow. Kumbaga itong chassis na to is airflow. Compared to other counterparts or competitors, airflow po siya. At the same time, dito sa taas, airflow din po. So open din po siya. Unlike other competitors kasi, minsan airflow sa harap, pero dito sa taas, covered na po siya or naka-acrylic na po. So yun po yung naging concern talaga. The intake is good, pero nasasakal siya sa exhaust. So with this, it is so fair. Kumbaga, maganda airflow, maganda intake, maganda rin yung exhaust. So that's it for this chassis. It is just so good. It is just so beautiful. The clearance, the aesthetics, the design, structure, ang bigat ng chassis. It is a bit heavier compared to the other chassis na almost the same size or almost the same na mid-tower po. With the typical chassis na nakikita po natin or nasusukat po natin yung weight, nasa 6 kilograms or higher lang po. Pero with this chassis, it comes with this 8 kilograms or 8.10 kilograms. So that is so heavy compared 2 kilograms heavier compared to the typical bang for the buck chassis na ina-unbox or nire-review po natin recently. So that is good enough proof that this chassis comes with better or thicker SGCC steel or yung structure, yung material na ginamit, mas makapal din po talaga. Kasi with the chassis that I compared at a 6 kilogram or more, is meron din naman siyang 4mm tempered glass thickness. So I think yung material talaga, yung kapal ng casing, and of course the fact na meron siyang wider or width, yung width niya mas malaki compared to the typical bang for the buck chassis. I think that is a good enough reason to gain a heavier weight compared to other counterparts from competitors. And then yun po mga kaibigan, feel free to subscribe on our channel para sa mas marami pang videos, and comment down below if there are things or informations that I have missed. That's it mga kaibigan, and thank you.